Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. As you can see, I am in my office and behind me is part of my Flash collection. As you can see, I'm a huge fan of the character. He's my favorite superhero of all time. So of course, I've just got to talk about the Flash movie. It is Thursday night. You'll be watching this video on Friday or later. And I did see it on opening night, and because that was a must. As you can see, I am a huge fan of the character. I've been that way basically since the Super Friends back in the mid to late 70s, and I've loved the comics since then. The Flash was the very first comic book I ever subscribed to, where I got an issue in the mail each month. That was so cool when I was a kid. I couldn't afford to subscribe to a bunch of comics, and Batman and Superman each had 2 titles, so I figured subscribing to one of those seemed incomplete somehow. Wonder Woman was a girl book, didn't want to do that. And there were some other choices, but I went with The Flash. And I'm glad I did because, man, that was just, he became my favorite character. I could sort of relate to and identify with him somewhat. The classic Barry Allen from the 50s to the 80s is my favorite incarnation of The Flash of all time. And I've liked modern incarnations of The Flash as well, including both television series and the Justice League cartoons, and yes, the new movie. I did enjoy it quite a bit, although it does have some issues that I will discuss. So I'll discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of this movie. So sit back and let's talk about The Flash for a few minutes. The first few minutes of The Flash are really wild. 15-20 minutes, it is just a crazy ride. And the movie in general is very action-packed. It's lighthearted. There's a lot of comedy throughout. Not all of it works, but most of it does. And there's a lot of action. There's a ton of CGI. And you just kind of have to take it with a movie like this. If you were CGI averse, yeah. If you don't like CGI, maybe stay away from this movie because there's a lot of it. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Some of it may be bad on purpose. You'll know what I mean when you watch the movie. Some of it's bad, and I'm not sure why it's bad, if they just couldn't quite pull it off. Regardless, when you watch the movie, you will know what I'm talking about. I think Ezra Miller does a great job as playing a sort of older version of himself, or a current version of himself, if you will, and a version of himself from a few years ago. Everyone knows that Michael Keaton is in this film, and there are some cameos from others in this movie. I will not give those away here. That would definitely spoil a big part of the movie. It's a lot of fun to see these different characters in this film, and it definitely was shooting for entertainment, but there's some poignancy and some seriousness in this movie as well, regarding him with his mother and his father. His father is in prison for the false accusation that he killed his mother, the Flash's mom, who he had a very close relationship with in the movie. And I thought they did a great job showing them bonding. They had such a sweet relationship. I thought that was good. I thought they pulled that off well. There's an extended battle sequence later in the movie, and that kind of drags on a little bit, and it's not really very tightly shot or tightly scripted. I thought that could have been condensed somewhat, and I thought that could have been filmed a little better, just a little more tightened up, a little more streamlined. But this is a pretty small gripe, and otherwise what is overall a very entertaining movie. Some of the cameos will tug at your heartstrings. Some of them will make you laugh. And there were a couple of times in the movie where the audience just started cheering, like when Michael Keaton, when he delivers a couple of bat lines from the classic movies. The 1989 Batman film is still my favorite Batman movie. And probably in my whole history of movie going, the 1989 Batman movie was my most anticipated movie of all time. I just could not wait for that movie to come out. I bought the novelization. I collected the trading cards and got a lot of the Batman memorabilia because I had been a fan of the character for so long, and I was so glad that Hollywood was taking him seriously. Speaking of serious, when we see Michael Keaton, Batman, in this movie, early on in the portrayal of the character. He's got long hair and he's sort of hung up the cowl, as you might expect. He's older, and it's a little goofy because the movie in general is lighthearted. Maybe I was hoping a little bit for something like The Dark Knight Returns, where you get a grizzled, bitter old Batman. This one's a little more lighthearted, which kind of ties into Michael Keaton earlier in his career, because he was definitely a comedic actor, which of course is, a big part of the controversy about him being Batman, that he was basically a comedian before that movie, for the most part, in a lot of his movies. But it worked well here because the movie in general is lighthearted. The Dark Knight tone probably would have been off and not really matched the rest of the film well, even though that's kind of what I was hoping to see. But regardless, man, there's just the speed effects, the way the Flash runs looks really cool. But again, it's very CGI heavy. Just look at it like you're going into a live action cartoon, sort of. And maybe you can forgive some of the excessive CG or CGI, however you want to say it. But overall, if you're a Flash fan, I think you'll enjoy it. If you're a casual fan of superheroes or just not much of one at all, there still will be some things for you to enjoy, because it is a lot of fun. There's a lot going on. There's some relatable, just sort of human interest moments, but they're a smaller percentage of the movie than, just the big action sequences. And anyway, guys, I strongly encourage you to see it. There's some great music. Danny Elfman, John Williams. Does that ring a bell? There was a couple of missed opportunities where Flash is running, and I wish something like Free Will Burnin' by Judas Priest would have been in there, something like that. Maybe an old school metal or hard rock song. But the music did match the action pretty well, some of the rock songs, so that was cool. But overall, guys, I give this 2 thumbs way up, and I definitely plan on seeing it again. I think you guys should see it. So let's take a look at some of the old comics in my Flash collection, some key issues. Here we go, guys. I have got every issue of Flash from 105 to 350. Some of you might know that 105 is sort of like number 1, because the original Flash series with Jay Garrick ended at 104. And when they brought the Flash back after showcasing him in Showcase Comics, they started over with 105. Instead of starting over with 101, they picked it up with 105, because back then, number 1 issues weren't a big deal, and they wanted to show that Flash was a proven commodity. So different marketplace today. But here are the first few issues in the series. I don't have the showcase appearances of the Flash, out of my budget, but I did collect these years ago, and I just love these old covers. Captain Cold, one of the greatest Flash villains. Man, they would just do anything. They had some crazy ideas back in the day when comics were just pretty much made for fun and, aimed at kids for sure. I want to show you just a few more. Captain Boomerang, another great Flash villain. Remember the Flash Rogues Gallery? Mirror Master's awesome. Sending Flash away in a boomerang. Only in the Silver Age, guys. And here's the most important Flash comic, or one of the most important Flash comics of all time. Number 123, The Flash of Two Worlds. This is when the Golden Age characters met the Silver Age character for the first time. This is what created sort of the multiverse within the DC universe, and without this comic, the new Flash movie would probably be very different. Might not even be multi-dimensional. Trickster, another key rogue for the Flash. Flash and Kid Flash. As many of you know, Wally West was Kid Flash, then he became Flash later on. Boy, these old covers were very enticing. All right, guys, there you go. Let me know what you thought of the Flash movie and the Flash in general. Are you a fan of the character? Which iteration of the Flash do you like best? The old Jay Garrick or Barry Allen or Wally West or the current Barry Allen? Just, I'd love to hear from you guys. And let me know what you thought of the movie. Thanks for watching, guys. We will talk to you in another video, and thank you for subscribing and liking. See you later.